AG training. So happy to see all of you. This evening, as you know from the email that I sent out last week or early this week, this evening's conversation is about public image. And as you probably know or may not know, my background is actually marketing and public image. So this is going to be a huge focus for one of the focuses for my year as we move into the Rotary year 21-22. And so Dave Unger and I, and he's got a wonderful committee put together. So we've been basically kind of talking about two different tracks. We want to certainly do some sort of a marketing campaign for the district and for Rotary in general, which will be district-wide. But then we also clearly have the track of where we are here to support clubs and provide them with any kind of information that we can so that the clubs have great public image. You know, everything is up to standards and so forth. So what we want to talk about this evening really is what kind of resources and what kind of information can we gather so that when we're talking to club leaders, you know, we have that information and we can share that with them and basically strengthen the Rotary brand, strengthen the club's brand, and just provide them again with the information they need. So I wanted to start out with Dave, who, as you all know, is our district public image chair. So he's going to start out with the conversation, and then Chuck Barnett, who is the Rotary Public Image Coordinator for Zone 30, will be joining us about 10 after. He actually had also contracted COVID, and this is his first week back to work, so he felt obligated to work a full day and not leave early. So he'll be joining us about 10 after. And so he's going to share some things with us, and he's the one that recommended that all of you, if you had the opportunity to get on the Learning Center and take those courses, the Rotary brand and then the People of Action learning course. So hopefully you've had a chance to do that. If you haven't, no worries. That's there all the time. So at your leisure, I would recommend that you review that. But without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Dave. And Dave, if you would go ahead and take it away. And everybody give Dave a big woohoo.
Thank woohoo. Thank you. I think you said it all for me, though. So no. How long should I go? Or
So yeah, I would. So and we do have Jean with Rotary International here as well. So she's got some information to share. So I'm thinking if you could do about 10 to 15, we'll give Chuck about 10 to 15, and then Jean can have about 20, and then we'll have some time for conversation, questions and answers.
Great. Thank you. I will try not to steal the thunder of Chuck or Jean here either. I'm going to try to let them. May I share a screen, Dana? Not yet. She's working on it. I can see.
Okay, you are co-host now.
Okay, thank you. Now, where's the screen that I want to share? Okay. So when I start a presentation at work, I usually start with our vision and values, because I find it's really good for centering around what are we trying to do and what's guiding us. So I wanted to start today with Rotary's vision statement and core values, because I think they're really good too. And I think they really are a good way to ground ourselves when we're talking about what are we trying to project out to the communities in which we live or work. So we see a world where people unite and take action. And if we take all these words and pull them out separately, there's a lot of really great stuff in there. So that's, it's the uniting via a club, taking action, or uniting via our club and partnering. So each of those things, I won't dive too deep in those because you can all read, but just being grounded in what's our vision for Rotary? What does it mean to be in Rotary? And what values do we attach ourselves to? And so when we talk about how are we projecting Rotary out in the community, and how are we talking about ourselves and what we do, try to just keep these words in mind. And you may not hit every one of them, or you may not hit them all equally, but these are really good things to just ground the conversation in. So MJ mentioned we had 2 tracks that we were following, and so I put one of them here because we've talked about 2 tracks, she and I, over the last couple of weeks, and I thought about it this week, and I thought, you know, there's really just one track there, and it's help clubs with public image. And one of the ways we do that is through district public image, so helping clubs by proxy, by putting things out on our district website and Facebook page, videos, things like that. As well as we're also talking about doing things like reporting. That shouldn't say report, that should say repost. Reposting things from RI. So when Rotary International posts really great stories out there, they're doing a fabulous job of putting branded stories out there about what does it mean to be a Rotarian. We can replicate those, and they have greater impact that way. And I'll get to why that's important in a second. And we can repost, Steve Heiser and I talked about this, reposting things that are from a third party. They may not be Rotary stories, but they are things that are emblematic of how Rotarians, who we are and what we do. So things from the Gates Foundation, perhaps, or the World Health Organization, or other nonprofits. So we can help at that level. We can help by teaching and coaching the clubs. So help them with how do you do social media, or how do you, what's a good way of messaging, and what are we trying to do consistently across RI, the zone, the district, and the clubs. And then having some templates and models for reuse. So we've talked about having an annual report that's really easy, like a 1-pager that just talks about, for each club, this is our impact for the year. So really easy to say, this is what we did this year, this was why it was important, and how it helped the community. And it just allows us to very easily put things out into the community about what we do. So that's, at a high level, what our goals are trying to be. If you remember only 2 things from today, branding and leadership, those are the 2 words that I want you to try to hang on to. Branding is the Rotary International branding. I'll talk a little bit about that. I suspect Chuck and Jean will talk a lot more about that. But for now, we'll just say the logo. Branding is much more than just our logo, but if we just say people can recognize Rotary by its logo, and if they see it out there every day or as often as possible, it starts to sink in. They start to remember it because they've seen it 100 times. And then the leadership, if we as Rotarians are being leaders in the community, and we're trying to attract leaders and we're trying to build leaders within our clubs, if we attach ourselves as leaders and our members as leaders to that brand and say, Rotary, you've seen the logo, you sort of know what it's about, you hear about it all the time, and these are the people who are in it. That's leadership and that's branding sort of married together. And that's what we're trying to do. That's the tactic we're trying to take for how to amplify our public image. I might come back to that a little bit later, but I'll keep going just so that we make sure we have enough time. So as I just said, associating the brands with the people. So that's, we can talk about social media and traditional media and all kinds of things where we're putting campaigns out there and sort of dumping information in front of people. But the really important part is the real life interaction. So that's talking to people, sometimes talking about Rotary, but often just talking to people, being part of your community, being a leader in your community, and identifying as a Rotarian. So maybe that's wearing your pin, or maybe that's posting every once in a while on Facebook or LinkedIn saying that you are associated with Rotary. It's over the long term, we're trying to tie the brand to the people. So one of the tactics that we'd like to take with that is to, and this is where you guys can help as AGs, is try to identify some people within the district that are really good examples of Rotarians being Rotarians, taking action. And if we can tie them to the 7 areas of focus for Rotary, that helps make a good, compelling story. And that's what we want to do, is say one of Rotary's areas of focus for this month is that we're talking about this month is whatever it is for that month. And here's a Rotarian and here's their story. And just talk about, again, people and the Rotary brand together as one thing that they can't be extricated from each other. So I'll go over the first half of this real quickly, but because I already spoke about recognition, recognize the Rotary brand, put it out there often, and provoke people with it a little bit. Talk about interesting things, cool things that your club is doing, cool things that you're doing, and tie that to Rotary. But then the last part, again, is really important. That's the invitation. So either invite people to Rotary, but also invite Rotary into your conversations. I don't know about each of you, I'm trying to look at the screen to see like who's on this screen and what do you all do for a living. But so I'll just speak for myself because the pictures are too tiny to see. But I go to a lot of networking events, professional networking events, and you get into small talk and chat with people and say, well, where do you work and what do you do? And, a little bit of chatter for a few minutes, and then you sort of run out of things to talk about. So a good thing that we can do as leaders in our professions when we're faced in those situations is ask the other person a question. And that question could be, are you involved in your community somehow? Or what's important to you? Or what change would you like to see in the world? We talk often about an elevator speech, and that's what this is supposed to be down here. The elevator buttons. Instead of making it an elevator pitch or an elevator speech, think about it as an elevator question. So before somebody gets off the elevator, ask them, what do you want to see different about the world? What do you think needs action to be taken? And then when they tell you, and the important thing here is to actually listen to them and not use this as now I want to talk to you about Rotary and just like jump right on their comments. Actually listen to them, but you can respond with, well, Rotary's 7 areas of focus are, or one of Rotary's areas of focus is, and tie that to what they want to see in the world, if you can. So, if poverty is something that they really would like to see fixed in the world, say, oh, that's one of the areas of focus for Rotary. Here's what we're doing about it in our club or in our district zone or RI. So it's, again, tying the people and Rotary to the things that we do on a daily basis. Branding, I just want to highlight this because this came from the Rotary's training that I think Chuck recommended everybody take. This was just one piece of it, but I thought it was really good. I thought the whole training was really good, but this I pulled out because it talks about branding as it's more than the logo, it's the perception. And ultimately, it's what do people think of you? That is what your brand is. Who do they think you are? You can tell them all kinds of stuff, but it's who they think you are is what your brand actually is. But Rotary, the training broke it down in these 5 categories. It's that perception, it's that connection of, what do you want to see changed in the world or what's important to you? And yes, we think that too. It's a promise. And it's the distinct concept. So it's, what's unique about Rotary? Why come to Rotary as opposed to go anywhere else to do what you want to do in the world. So this did a really nice job of tying those different ideas of brand to, this is how Rotary sees each of those. So I encourage you to take that course once again. I'll just gloss over this really quickly. This is RI's strategic priorities. They fit really nicely with what we're trying to do as a district. So improve our ability to measure impact is one thing. So that's where we talked about developing an annual report that each club could use if they're not already doing an annual report. Give them a simple template to show, here is our impact. Expand our reach, that sort of goes without saying, but that's, use the Rotary story to talk more about what we do and attract more people. And again, talk about how we are leaders in the community, and sort of reach out to our professional and personal networks and talk about, I'm a leader, you're a leader, this is what I do, this is my side interest or my other interest other than work itself. What do you do? And maybe that's an invitation to Rotary, or maybe it's just a conversation. But if nothing else, get that conversation started. So AGs, here's my ask of you, is to keep your antenna up for examples of Rotarians being Rotarians. Just look at your clubs, look at who's really living the Rotary story, and help surface those, and let's share those across the district and show this is what it means to be Rotarian. And also encourage the clubs. So if they have a public image coordinator, most of them should by now, not all, but most do. But either the public image coordinator or the president or just anyone in the club, encourage them to share their stories with the district PI committee so that we can help get them out there. Because chances are those stories, they talk about the club, they talk about the people, but they're really talking about Rotary, and chances are they're great to repeat across clubs. And I know in my own club, I like to try to post things that other clubs are doing and say, hey, this is what other Rotary clubs do. They're doing really cool things. We're doing really cool things. This is what it means to be in Rotary. That's my slides. So everybody loves slides. Okay. Questions, or back to you, MJ?
Sure. Does anybody have any questions for Dave?
I know I went through that.
I think
really
that,
quickly.
yeah. Thank you. I think that the key really is what Dave is talking about, just keeping your antenna up, encourage clubs to share their stories. And then as AGs, though, it would probably, and I'm sure all of you have probably already done this, but, pop on to the clubs that you serve, pop onto their web page to see, what kind of information they're sharing. I know sometimes it's kind of hard to get accurate or timely information on there, but so if we go back to kind of the brand and the logo, there needs to be that consistency. So if you want to take a look at that and see if there's any suggestions that you might offer, and certainly if they've got Facebook pages, you would want to like those pages, and you probably are already doing that. So it's probably this is probably not new information, but again, just to be that resource and to encourage the clubs to share their stories, because you hear that time and time again, that Rotary is, we want to share the stories. We're people of action, and so we need to tell the stories of Rotarians in action. So. Any questions for Dave?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just in the interest of time. I didn't want to pack too much in here or too many, points to take away. But you brought up a really good one, which is not just liking the pages of the clubs, but every time you see a Rotary story out there, and regardless of who posts it, try to hit the like button or the share button. It would be even better, and encourage the clubs to do the same, because even though that's a really small act, the more that happens, the more traction they get, the more it spreads to people who aren't directly in that feed. And it really does increase the impact of the message.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't see any questions, nothing happening in the chat. And Dana, I don't see Chuck. Chuck Barnett is not on, is he?
I don't see
Something
him
must
either.
have happened. Well, that works out really good for Jean. So we do have Jean Saunders, who is account executive and membership marketing communications group from Rotary International. And I failed to also introduce Blair Cody. She's on the call as well. She helped to connect Jean and I together. And so there she is. Thanks, Blair. Thanks for being here. So Jean, if you want to go ahead then and proceed and kind of share some information with the AGs that you have, that would be awesome. And I didn't get a bio, so if you wanted to just take a couple seconds and introduce yourself and you know, history, that would be great as well. So.
Sure, happy to. Thank you, Mary Jane, for including me, Blair, for connecting us. It's just great to be here. So I work on the marketing team at Rotary. I've been at Rotary for 5.5 years. It's hard to believe. And I live in Evanston. I walk to Rotary, so I have a great job and I get to walk to work. And I'm a member of a Rotary club. There are 2 Rotary clubs in Evanston, and I'm a member of, we call ourselves the Morning Club. I've been a member for about 4 years. And I've just, I am the program chair nominee for our club. So I'm kind of excited about that. So my role in Rotary on the marketing team is really to help support clubs around the world do what you're doing right here. So Dave, you couldn't have given me better, well, the word praise is coming to mind, but that sounds self-serving. But hearing you talk about the resources that we create, hearing you talk about, and the way you talk about the importance of strengthening the Rotary brand and the overarching comments that you made at the beginning of this presentation, Mary Jane, just really make me feel good, because that's what my job is at Rotary. So our strategy is really twofold. I'm going to talk a little bit and then share the slides, because I wanted to maybe even take some questions in advance before I get into it. But our marketing strategy at Rotary is really, we've got a couple pillars like most strategies do, but it's to speak with one voice. And I think Dave hit on that. Mary Jane hit on that, and that's probably something you've heard over and over again. So speaking with one voice is speaking in the kind of the metaphorical way, not just literally speaking in one voice, but telling a consistent story, providing a consistent experience with Rotary, showing our logos in a consistent way. But it's delivering on our promise, delivering on living our mission. All of those things are rolled up with the one voice, and that's one of the elements of our communication story. And the second one is to empower brand ambassadors. And so my reason to come to work every day is to work on tactics to support that. So and you folks, you AGs, and every Rotarian is a brand ambassador just by being a member. And as Dave suggested, including Rotary, bringing Rotary to your conversations, that's when you become a brand ambassador. So that, anyway, that's kind of strategically how we're looking at this. And the thinking is, we have 1.2 million members around the world who can tell the story of Rotary, who can be brand ambassadors, who can help build awareness and understanding of Rotary. So the slide deck that I have is one that I've used several times when I've had groups like yours come into the building, and it uses bits and pieces from the training that Dave talked about. So just before I get into this, so I sort of know how much of it to focus on, how many are familiar with the courses on the Learning Center or who have been part of public image related discussions and training before? Show of hands. So I think a lot of the things in the beginning part of the presentation, I'm going to speed over quite quickly, and then I'll jump to, I think the important thing is, and that's for us to have a conversation. So Dana, that might make your job a little hard. So I can either drive the slides or you can, whatever's going to work best for everybody.
I'll go ahead and share and just let me know when you want me to.
Okay, sure. And I have them up on my big second screen too. So if I'm looking this way, I'm not looking out the window because it's getting dark, but I'm looking at my other screen. So just moving to the third slide, we Rotary Marketing, we start all of our thinking and discussing about Rotary public image with this idea. And I think Dave hit on it when he defined brand, and that is we have to remind ourselves our public image isn't what we think of Rotary, it's what the public thinks of us. Nancy, my boss, who's just dynamite, she's the marketing manager for all of Rotary, came up with this slide, and I think it's outstanding. So the next slide, Dana, you've probably all seen, but I always like to start this, again, to ground us, is that everybody on this call and the people I go to work with every day and the people in my Rotary Club, we love Rotary because of the value of all of the things that it brings to us personally and the impact we have around the world. But in the United States, only about 47% have heard of Rotary, and that's aided awareness. Have you heard of an organization called Rotary? In general population, general pop studies, 47%, yeah, I've heard of Rotary. So that's not nearly where we want to be. It increases as we go around the world. Worldwide, we're about 75% aided awareness. But then if you look at different segments of the population, our awareness is a little higher. And then what's also something that we need to remind ourselves is that most folks don't see Rotary the way we do. The folks who have heard of us, not all of them, and this isn't an indictment of anything anyone's done, but unfortunately, folks have a misperception. That's certainly the case where I live in Evanston. I hope it's not where you live. So again, I'm just going to go quickly through this. So on the next slide, Dana. So elevating Rotary's public image, the first thing we need to do is generate awareness. So that branding, that is bringing Rotary to the conversation, bringing conversations to Rotary. I love how you said that, Dave. And if you're okay with this, I'm going to steal that. You might have seen me taking notes. I took a lot of notes. So we're just at the tip of that. Us marketing geeks call it the marketing funnel: awareness, understanding, interest, engagement, and advocacy. So we're an old brand. We've been around, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, but we're a legacy brand. We've been around a long time. But from a awareness perspective, we're relatively young when it comes to this awareness understanding funnel, and our brand building efforts are going to drive our participants down the funnel to become members. So driving public image and awareness is a starting point, but then we need to have those activities and conversations like Dave was so eloquently talking to you about. So our public image strategy on the next slide is really to narrow that gap. And that's why we talk about storytelling so often, because we want to define Rotary in our terms, not the terms that other folks have, that because they might have known someone's grandfather who's a Rotarian or something. But rather, we want to define Rotary in terms that are the way we want people to see Rotary. We want people to see Rotary as we see it. So as I said, my reason for coming to work every day is to create resources, build tools that help you help the clubs tell the story of Rotary. And ultimately, that's going to drive membership and foundation support. So on the next slide, I think I already stole my own thunder here on this point, and that is raising our public image relies on all of us. Each and every one of us have a role. So we all have to be telling our stories. In the next slide, when we launched People of Action in 2017, we launched it at the Atlanta Convention. Was anyone there? Yay. When we launched it, we were thinking about it as an organization, as our new public image campaign. And I think we quickly realized, and I think we probably always knew, that People of Action is so much more than an advertising campaign. It's who we are and what we do. And it's, as we looked at the mission statement and the vision statement, it's woven right into that. It's our messaging platform. So that's why it's so important when you're talking about Rotary. You don't have to use those words all the time. We are People of Action, we are People of Action, but rather think about, are the stories we're telling, is the way that we're talking about Rotary, is that delivering on our promise that we are People of Action, that we take action to make a difference in the world. So it supports our vision. The next slide is a vision statement. So just moving to number 10, and let's jump to slide 12, if you don't mind, Dana. So we launched in 2017, as I said, and for folks who've been watching closely, you'll probably have noticed that as time goes by, there are more and more things being added to the brand center. Sometimes it may feel like you're being drowned in things that are coming to the brand center. But the idea was to launch the campaign and provide guidance through the campaign guides, but provide templates, because ultimately it's the stories of what's happening in communities that's going to be relevant and that's going to resonate with the people in your community. Because ultimately, I think we all want to see ourselves. We want to see the vision for ourselves in someone else's story, and by I guess extension in an ad. So the whole idea was we wanted to create these templates on the brand center so that you could tell your story. You could talk about the difference you're making in your community. In one of the 7 areas of focus, or something that's relevant and important to your community. So then the next thing that we did, and I just, again, can't thank you enough, Dave, for that shout out about those courses. So in some ways, it really did feel like we gave birth to those courses. We really, thank you. We really involved a lot of people from across the organization. A lot of folks, a lot of members were involved, and we really, really thought through, if we were teaching a marketing and branding course, what would we want to include? But then how do we make it relevant for Rotary? So right now there are 4 courses. The Rotary brand, that talks about some of those things that Dave was mentioning. The next one is building Rotary's public image. Also, thank you, Dave, for including a lot of the bullets from that one. And then the third one is our logo, what you should, our logo representing Rotary. And that one is about how to use the our brand, our logo, our names in a way that's consistent with the guidelines. And then the last one that has been available in the Learning Center since, I guess since the summer, and then in languages since the fall, is promoting your club as people of action. That one's pretty meaty. That one really took quite a while to put together. So I think that one is really excited about that one. And then two more in development and coming. One is promoting your club using public relations, and then promoting your club using social media. So those are coming, all available on the Learning Center. And I guess I would say to all of you, I would encourage you to take them. But I know promoting the importance of public image isn't the only thing that you do. But as you take them and as you encourage the clubs that you work with to take them, I would love to hear your reactions. I'd love to hear, well, what's missing? How did you use it? How do people respond? Because that kind of feedback is like gold to me. In that, again, my reason for being is to support clubs, to tell the story of Rotary. So the more I'm hearing about, is this working? Is this not working? What else can we add? I just want to do a quick time check. I have a couple more slides that I can move through fairly quickly. Is Chuck on the line?
No, it looks like we had a miscommunication as far as the time. He's on a different time zone than we are. So I think we're going to unfortunately miss Chuck. So Jean, if you want to maybe, you've got probably another 5 minutes, and then we can open it up to questions perhaps, if that works for you.
Yeah. So the next slide, Dana, let's go to slide, let's go to slide 15. So I'll move through these quite quickly. So you've heard me mention the Brand Center a couple of times. The Brand Center is the kind of the one-stop shop. And I would strongly encourage each of you, not necessarily to become experts on the Brand Center again, because you have so many other things that you're doing, but I would encourage if you could find someone in the group of clubs that you're working with. Maybe there's someone who's really kind of adept at going in and pulling things down and using the templates. Leverage them, leverage their experience. We're adding new resources all of the time. And you didn't hear this from me. No, I'm kidding. I've been working on an enterprise project with many colleagues at Rotary. We're revamping the Brand Center. It's built on an old antiquated platform. So we're rebuilding that Brand Center. So I don't have a timing for the launch. I wish I did. The assets that we provide will be the same, but the ease of use is going to go up by leaps and bounds. So that's where you find those templates I talked about, already made ads, videos. We have a treasure trove of videos, resources like how to use people of action, how to get started with social media, lots of guides. So then let's skip to slide 19, if you don't mind, Dana. So on this slide, this is the slide that I just absolutely love it if you carry these thoughts with you. And I'm going to take a little bit of a step backwards and then get into this. We did focus groups with members all around the United States, and they told us a couple things. They told us they loved people of action. It kind of resonated with who they are and why they love Rotary and those things. And we asked them how important it was to promote Rotary, enhance Rotary's public image. And they said, yeah, super, super important. And they said, but we're not really sure it's a priority for Rotary. Really? They said, yeah, we don't necessarily hear about it from the district. And we really take our information from the district. The district is how we learn about what's new in the Rotary world, and it's where we learn about what's important and what's a priority. So we heard over and over again around the United States that folks at the club level weren't necessarily hearing it was a priority. So Mary Jane, when you started by saying this is important to you, I was like, yes. So I think that is, to me, the cornerstone of what you can do when you talk to clubs is ensure that they understand it's a priority to Rotary, because it's in all of our best interests that the world knows what we do and the difference we make. So ensuring that public image positions filled, looking at the club's materials, especially those that are external facing, like the website, like the social media pages. Are they compelling? Are they interesting to external audiences, to the public, or do they feel like we as members are talking to ourselves? Use People of Action, go to the Brand Center, and encourage people to participate in World Polio Day. And then the last slide, so a couple easy things that, again, you could keep this in your other pocket if you have that one slide in one pocket. Maybe just back up one to slide 20, please. And slide 20 is, so a couple easy things that clubs can do to help make their websites relevant to external audiences is all of those videos, People of Action videos, post those to include that in your website. Include photos of clubs making a difference, demonstrating that they're people of action. And the courses on the Learning Center will talk about photo tips and all those kind of good things. Talk about people of action in the language you use, and then also in your social media. And then finally, the next slide is, you might have seen this, this might be recognizable from the Rotarian magazine. The December Rotarian included this ad. So it's a promo for two things. One, that rally cry that we've been making, share your story with the public. Don't hide your light under a bushel. And we want everyone to know that we have a PSA campaign going on. The PSA campaign was launched in the March timeframe, and so PSAs are running around the states in media markets, and they run if the PSA director at a media outlet knows they're available. So we have a whole promotion campaign that we reached out to media directors, but if you have relationships, or people at your clubs have relationships with the PSA directors at their local media outlet, either radio or TV, tell them to check out the Rotary PSA, because they all have it. So that is, that's my story.
Thank you, Jean. Does anybody have any questions for Jean? Jean, I have one question about the Rotary PSA campaign. So
Sure.
are you saying, because I've got an affiliate in my town, in Zanesville, Ohio, there's actually a TV station. So are you saying that they have already received material from Rotary that could do that, or do I need to provide it? Do I need to provide it to my local affiliate for that?
Well, we worked with an agency, Plowshare, and they sent the Rotary PSA and uploaded it to their FTP site. So I will send you directly the information about the Plowshare FTP site. And I also have some other information that I can share with you. So kind of the headline is they should be able to access it through Plowshare's FTP site. But like each one of us, they may have forgotten about it and so on. But I will send that to you so you can act on that.
Well, that would be awesome. And then I was really interested in slides 19 and 20 because as AGs, I mean, our function is basically to help our clubs. And so you had a really good slides of, I think, 19 and 20, like what can presidents do or what can we do to kind of ensure and build the brand. So are we at liberty to copy and share and use those two slides?
To your heart.
Because I think I would like to include them.
Yes, that would be my hope and dream, that you would use those slides and share that message.
Cool. So does anybody have any questions or what are you seeing? Have you seen anything as far as public image is concerned with the clubs right now? I know obviously we're doing mostly all Zoom meetings and things like that. Are they still keeping their websites up to date? Have you guys been checking those and looking at those? Mike Brown's shaking his head no. Ed says yes. Joe says kind of. So what do you think we need to do to help the clubs maybe get a better public image and to tell the story? Maybe Mike Brown would like to share some ideas.
Thank you, MJ. Jean, you
You're
did
welcome.
a great job with your messaging there. That was very good. I appreciate that. Well, for the clubs, it really comes down to simple marketing. What are you selling and who are you selling to? And basically on the club side, you're selling the club experience. And the club experience is made up of a lot of different elements, whether it's your particular meeting or your food, but most cases, it's also the particular people, the lives that you are touching in your particular community, as well as the lives of your individual members. And that's, what you are going to be communicating to the public. And that's what you want to put out there on your websites. Take a look at that. You've seen a lot of the sites that I've done, and I do the district website, and I do about 20 other websites across the United States for especially a lot of the large clubs now that they're coming to me for doing that work. But, do take a look at that. And then, understanding the audience. Too often we talk about trying to get members, but you have to make sure you understand what your particular club's value proposition is and what they want to communicate to their prospective members. And some members may want different elements within their experiences out there. And we've been talking a lot about that with Jenny Stotts and the membership team with, expanding into new clubs. It's one thing to get members into your clubs, but they're going to want to buy that same experience that your club is doing. But if they want a totally different experience, maybe there's another club in your town, or as we are trying to do heavily within the district and Rotary, is to create new clubs to handle their particular experiences that they are interested in partaking in. So, make sure that, your club's website is got the proper messaging on there so they understand exactly what the experience that your club is offering. And then on the other side of it, in communicating it out there, social media is very important. But in order to be successful in social media, you have to create a two-way dialogue with that. And so often we will put a picture out there and it's dead. You need to have a link back from your particular social media posting back to your particular website. That increases your Facebook rankings considerably. You can share the message, but too often, if you take a look at who's sharing the message and who's looking at it, it's all Rotarians. We keep talking to ourselves. But you want to create a call to action on a particular event that maybe your club did or a fundraising activity. But unless you have a business account where you can hot link the image, you're going to have to put the link back pretty much in the first sentence of your social media posting. And it needs to go back to either the home page on your website or a specific landing page for that particular project or that particular fundraiser. That creates the two-way activity out there that increases the your rankings with Facebook, and they'll get it further out there for you. But you do have to take a look at your particular website and what the message is that you are posting out there. Too often, a lot of the websites are just kind of talking to each other and to the members, and a lot of public will see that and think, well, it seems too internal. I may not want to get involved with that. So you have to take a little bit different approach as to what you are communicating out there. And anybody's interested, feel free to contact me and we can help them out. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Mike. Yes, any questions for Mike? And I know that all of you have heard this many times before, but you know, public image, membership, and foundation, they're all very much intertwined. You know, so if we have a strong Rotary brand and we're telling our story, then we will have individuals be interested in becoming Rotarians. And then once they become interested in being Rotarians and they want to contribute to the foundation, or people that aren't going to be Rotarians still might want to contribute to the foundation because they can see all the great things that we're doing. So they are very much interconnected. And so they're very much very important. All three of those, it's like little stool. It's like a little stool with three little legs. You know, it kind of supports everything. So
one of the challenges I think the club I belong to has with public image is really just thinking through, how do we do it? It's not that we don't understand, because we happen to know people who work at Rotary. We don't understand what to do or even how to do it. But our challenge is that it's tough to have the role filled because people see it as a huge lift. They see it as being a real challenge that they don't necessarily have time to do. So, for example, the woman who's the chair of the Public Image Committee, who's a committee of one this year, is a very busy dentist. She's bright and personable and writes dynamite posts on social media and writes great press releases and does everything that you would need to do to promote Rotary and our Rotary Club in the community. But it's a little overwhelming because she's managing her dentist practice. So all of that to say, I think if you have clubs in a group of clubs who've been able to parse apart the role and chunk it out and make it manageable, I think that is going to help with that bullet number one on my ensure the position's filled, is show the folks how they can be successful in their role so it doesn't take over their life. Show them where they can take the courses, or show them how they can share with others. So anyway, that's my 2 cents, nothing to do with me wearing my account executive hat, but just my observation in my club. And I said that because I do it for a living, I'm not going to take it on as a club role. I'm going to try to grow in other areas. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we have, is that it just feels too overwhelming for folks.
Yeah.
Dana,
So our club, go ahead, Dana.
I was just going to ask about what's the best messaging to use to kind of tap into the people out there who would make great Rotarians and are looking for a way to fulfill their desire to help their communities, but maybe like people of action isn't something that resonates. You know, I always think about it, you know, that feel good. Are you looking for a way to give back to your community but don't know how? Join us and you can do that. Has there ever been any conversation around that, or do you have something available that you think would hit that mark?
It's almost like doing kind of a needs assessment. Well, we do in that, and I'm going to go down a tiny little rabbit hole for a sec. We did a pretty robust research study and a segmentation research study, and coming out of that, we identified 5 different personas of Rotary members. And so there are folks who are, and the first one are folks who are driven to join Rotary because they really want to make a difference in their local community. So that notion of hands-on service and being a community leader influencer is really important to them. Others, the second one is a supporter. For them, Rotary feels a nice, kind of rounds out their life, and it gives them a place to belong and they can connect with like-minded people who want to make a difference. They don't necessarily want to do service, but they They want to be part of an organization. The next group are the enthusiasts. For them, Rotary it ticks almost all the boxes. It's a place to go for leadership development. It's a place to go for community service. It's a place to go for international service. And then there are the folks who really like the legacy of Rotary, the longstanding traditions, the value that we bring to communities, the structure, quite frankly. And then there are folks for whom all of those things are important, but what they really see Rotary fulfilling them is because it gives them a connection to people all around the world. So it's not to say that any of those things are not important, because all of those ultimately are important to everyone, but it's sussing out which of those elements resonates. And so figuring out if someone's really interested in making a difference in homelessness, which is a big issue in Evanston, for example, I would talk to them about that. But if someone's really interested in the international aspect of Rotary, I would lean into those stories and examples.
That's super helpful. Thanks. I didn't know that you had done that work with personas. That was that's extremely helpful, because I sort of had in my mind that idea that you want to, as you said earlier, speak with one voice, and that's maybe another take on it, is address one persona at a time in an advertisement. So speak to one of those people, not all of them at once.
Is there some kind of white paper on that, or something we could read about the personas?
Yeah, so this is always the tricky thing when companies do segmentation research, is because no one wants to be put in a box, right? So the outcome of that we've woven it into some of our training, and I could share that. I'd be delighted to share that. And
Thank
also,
you, Jean.
I'd be super interested in how it works for you and how you're using it, because that will inspire us to do more of that kind of work, and then create materials that are actionable.
Wolf, did you have a question?
I just wondered if there was a club in our district, or perhaps another district, that had a really great website and Facebook page that we could look at to see what an example of doing it right would look like. Maybe Mike or Jean, I don't know.
Well, I've done quite a few in addition to the district website. I've done the Westerville Sunrise website, and in the last 2 months that it's been open, they picked up 8 leads and I think 7 members out of that came directly through the website. The Olentangy Club, Pataskala Club, Newark Club, sites that I've done. I'm doing the Dayton Club and the next district over, do the Washington, D.C. Club, Louisville Club, a few out west, just did some down south, Houma, Louisiana. But there's a lot of similar elements in there, and a lot of the pieces that I'm involved with and working with the clubs is they've got to tell me first off, what experience are they trying to communicate? What is that club all about? And surprisingly, that's a very difficult topic in a lot of clubs, because I'm dealing with a lot of clubs that have been around, maybe 100 years. And I'm asking them, well, what are the top 4 things your club is known for? And they do struggle with that. And then, I said, well, send me pictures and a write-up. And when I get 2 pictures and a half a paragraph on a 100-year-old club of their big project, that's very disappointing, because it's obvious the club is struggling to understand exactly who they are. And when a club is struggling with that, then obviously they are struggling in communicating that message to the public, to the community, and even to their own members. And that's some of the pieces. You take a look through some of the websites I've done out there, there is an actual logical thought process through all the different elements in the scroll sequence. And that's a big piece because everybody scrolls nowadays. So we have to look at that. And I do run Google Analytics on all the sites and am very familiar with all the hits and stuff. I know I've been working with Jenny Stotts in our district on a couple pages we've done internally on our website of her messaging. And sure enough, when she puts it out there, bingo, the hits go straight up. She's very good at communicating properly on social media and with the proper link backs. And all of a sudden, we're #1 around the world because I can track it from all the different countries that are hitting on our sites with her messaging. So there's a lot of different key elements on how it goes together. But, be willing to sit down with you or your particular club and, talk through the different components and messaging that you're putting out there. You can't be everything to everybody, but you obviously know who you are to yourself. So you want to communicate your value proposition.
That helps. Thanks a lot, Mike. I was just looking at the Westerville Sunrise Club, and you're right. That's a very different website than most of the ones you see. So
Yeah.
I'll look into those.
Great, thank you. I think something that maybe we should kind of look at, and I know that Dave wants to do periodic, sort of what Jenny's doing with membership and what Larry's talking about doing with foundation, is having, at least a quarterly meeting with the public image chairs. So if you could maybe find out from your clubs whether they actually have a public image chair, and that might be the first start, that if we could get them to participate in some of the stuff that Dave's doing, it's an education piece, and they can just take it, bite by bite, instead of trying to get all this information to them all at once. But that might be a kind of a starting point, just an idea. So, and I know that that's one of the things that Jean put on there, is that the presidents need to identify a president, a public image chair. So it's very hard to get good public image if they don't actually have somebody in the club working on it. So, and the president can't do all the things. So, okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
MJ, a thing I was thinking of is that there's so many options out there through what we've learned. But I think the one thing that clubs have to be careful of is that they're promoting and creating a public image that's authentic to their club, that they're not coming up with pictures about what they wish they could be, or aren't we wonderful in doing such and such, and maybe they get members and the members come to the meeting and find out, well, they're not doing this stuff at all. Why'd they promote it that way? So the public image has to be authentic to the club. You can't make up something that you wish you could be.
Yeah, and I like, and that kind of goes back to what Mike, past district governor Mike was talking about, as far as, what is your club known for? Give me 4 things that your club is known for,
Yeah.
and then really focus on those 4. And then, and then market those 4 really, really well, and
Yeah.
focus on that. So, I mean, and that is a tough question. I mean, even in business, like, what are the top 4 things am I known for? Or, so that's a great question.
Well,
A
you
great
don't want to
starting point anyway.
You don't want to overpromise and underdeliver when they finally get to the meeting and you're not what you just advertised.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. Great point, Joe. Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
Just one other piece there, MJ. We
Sure,
talked
Mike.
about the People of Action campaign. If you want to see a good example of how to take it to the proper level, go to the Olentangy RotaryClub.org website, and on the homepage there, just scroll down a little bit, you'll see the Together We Transform. And that's really an excellent example of what we're asking clubs to do with the People of Action campaign, because that's an authentic picture of the club activity in El Salvador. But the key element with that is to put your story on the image. I mean, obviously, if you're doing it in social media or Facebook, you'd have the picture with Together We Transform, but it's the next paragraph in there is what you want on your social media site, with a link back to your particular club's website, or maybe the web page that the event or element is actually hosted on. And that's some of the pieces. We do get hung up a lot on going to the Rotary site and trying to put together at least a picture and the words, but there's more to the story. And that's what you want to do, is communicate the story, the value that your club is communicating to its members, even, as well as to prospective members.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Well, it's about 7 minutes after 6, so I know that it was only supposed to be an hour, better than the last one at least. At least we're not 15, 20 minutes over. Oh, Larry, did you want to say something?
I just have a quick note to the AG. So I sent out, I think it's 2 days ago, the updated 125 Club and another spreadsheet with information. If you have questions on that, please reach out to me and let me know. I also forgot to mention in that email that if you're running short of pins, I track how many you've got and how many I've sent you. Look to the package that Craig Maxey is sending you, since he was already putting a big mailer together for the district, the AGs, with I think your training manual and a bunch of other stuff. I had him put them in there. So if you're running short, look to that package from Craig that I think are supposed to mail tomorrow or this weekend, and you'll have your 125 Club pins in there. And then if you're still short, then let me know. But I think I try to keep most of you with a supply ahead of what has already been earned. So thanks, MJ.
Great.
Mhm.
You're welcome, Larry. Thank you. Dana?
Just can we hang on and try something out for people who can?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, MJ.
So I just wanted to thank Jean for being on the call, and Blair, obviously, thank you for arranging it. I want to thank Dave for the presentation. Blair has been working with me, and we're going to do membership next month. So we'll have some Rotary International people in for membership, along with Jenny, our district membership chair. So stay tuned for more information, and give a shout out to Blair. She's the one that's helping me put this together. And Jean, certainly thank you so much for taking the time and being with us today and sharing all of your information. And it's great information. So thank you so much.
It was absolutely my pleasure. And I did a bad thing, and that is, in my haste to leave you time, I didn't give you a call to action besides the messages for the clubs. And that is, please reach out. Happy to take questions, comments, concerns, whatever. And my email is jean.saunders@rotary.org or PR.
Jean, you want to put that in the chat?
Oh,
Can you
sure.
put that in the chat for us? Yep,
Yep.
that'd be awesome. And that's a great point. You know, we've got great district leadership team, but we also have Rotary International, so they're a huge support. So don't be afraid to reach out to Jean or to anybody at RI to get information that you might need. So perfect. And then I want to give Mike Brown, past District Governor Mike Brown, thank you for being on the call and sharing your wisdom with us. So Dana's got an experiment. So for those who have to go, the meeting is concluded, but she's got a new breakout toy or something. I don't know what she's doing, but she's got something she wants to try out on us. So if anybody can stick around, we'll see what she's got in store. So
Okay.
thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks, Blair.
For those of you who can stay, there's a new option in Zoom that lets participants choose which room they want to go to.
Oh.
And I've never used it. And I think it could be really helpful for us for some of our meetings. So I just named them room 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to open them. And then you guys try to go and just stay for just 30 seconds and then come back. But you can pick whatever room you want to. Are you seeing
So
something
it says
pop up?
join a breakout
Yeah.
room. So I just
at the
click
bottom.
on that.
Breakout rooms.
Yeah, just pick one and go in, and then just stay for a little bit and then come back.
Dana, I don't see where that's
I'm not
at.
seeing anything.
Okay, I'm seeing some people go, so I don't see it either because I'm the host, so I don't know where it's showing up. But you see, obviously nothing popped up in the middle is what you're saying.
Yeah, nothing for me.
Nothing.
If you minimize
in
your,
my top left hand corner, it just showed up breakout rooms, but it wasn't there right under the record button, although now it's gone again.
oh,
Hmm.
let me see if I might be able to move you. So let me try something.
That's
That
pretty
worked.
cool, Dana.
Was it fun? Yeah. Yay.
Is
But I
that a
don't
general
know.
feature on
I've got it now.
all Zoom, or is that
Thank
just
you.
on the level of what you guys have purchased for the district?